Hello. Good morning. How's it
Good
going?
morning. Better now.
Good.
Better. Just playing with Rhino scripts.
Oh. What are you scripting?
I had a project where this comes up all the damn time, where you get files from a client. It's got a bunch of circles in it, in the parts, and you're like, I'm not counting those circles. That's silly. And so, there's a few ways, especially in Rhino, to you could make 2D and find all the circles and then just select them, but that doesn't tell you what size they are. And so I was like, I'll just make a script. And so I went back and forth in Sim Theory with, what was it, Claude 3.5, and it just gave me absolute garbage that it would not work for a script. I'm listening to myself now. It's like, I'm expecting these things to just make me great scripts anymore. I'm not surprised when it works. I'm mad that it doesn't. And so I did finally get to this place where it now will... I'm revising it currently because it's doing everything in the file, no matter if it's visible or not, but I want it to only be visible items. Mm-hmm. So if I have either curves or like line work or extrusions, it should analyze everything and tell me what size of holes, how many of each, and then if it's over a half an inch in diameter, 12.7 millimeters, it will tell me how many that need to be bored versus drilled for the CNC routing use case. And so then I can do some simple coding math for that instead of having to guess or not know. And then I just copy the whole thing in my coding error table and got the information for the quote. I will share.
Do you think the script is in the background just doing what you would have done in terms of make 2D and selecting curves and counting them, or is it doing a different approach? Do you know what it's doing?
It also checks for duplicates before it even starts, which I thought was a cool little touch. It says, get all visible objects unhidden and unlocked. So I don't want that. Definition, get circle diameter, find circles and count, if duplicates.
New bedtime stories. So it's Justin reads code.
Sultry to some. And then it sorts it and puts it into an output. So it's pretty simple, seemingly.
Cool.
It just does a lot of, it's not as repeat over and over as the Fusion script, I feel like. It's doing a more full analysis at once.
Nice.
And I've broken it. So it works if you just want to see everything in the file instead of specific parts. I guess I could delete stuff.
That should be an easy change to make visible only. I've got ones that work on visible only stuff, or only what I've got selected and stuff like that. That should be pretty straightforward. I too have been working on Rhino scripts this week, trying to make a auto doweling script so that you can configure Kitaparts shelves in any old configuration, standard length or custom lengths, and hit a script and it just auto-fills all the dowels across all shelves. Because I ran into a mistake that I'd made in a drawing on Thursday night. Job was going out Friday morning. Thursday night, I was back at work just getting some things ready for the next day and found a mistake that I'd made in a drawing where I'd missed a custom dowel. So I had to fire up the wax dipper and wait 90 minutes for the wax to come to temperature and machine the custom dowel and dip it, which was fine. Got it done, whatever. But then I thought, no, this is another script job. I can make something that automatically detects the distance between shelves and generates those blocks that are then automatically counted and blah, blah, blah. I haven't managed to get it to work yet. I've gone back and forth so many times with the bot saying, no, still not working, still got this error, still not duplicating here. Right. I reckon it must be 50 cycles deep in this one chat window, and it's still not. And I've tried different approaches. I've tried to get it to back up and try different.
Sometimes I just start over because I feel like it gets so confused in its little thread that it's I don't even know what you're asking. You asked me not to do this last time. Just ping pongs back and forth.
Oh, I tried that too. I said, this isn't, at a certain point, I was like, this isn't working. I'm going to go off and talk to one of your more powerful friends now. Can you just collate all the work we've done?
Yeah.
And summarize the project, and I'll take it off somewhere else. Thank you very much. And that failed as well.
Right.
That was even worse. So, whatever. But good fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
It was nice. It worked very simply, though. Like, I got what I spent, admittedly, probably too much time. But I don't know. The alternative to that was, there's literally 116 holes. Like, how do you count that? And there was 3 different sizes, and the eye doesn't tell me whether or not there's 6 different sizes that are minutely different when they're not organized in any way by the file that I got was just a step file. I love that kind of stuff where now it's the trick to this will be like, I often get files where the circles aren't circles. They're not. They're like exploded freaking line work. So I don't know how to solve that, but nice little win.
Cool.
Oh, I was going to say, were you having, I just said this, but like Claude Sonnet 3.5 was just trash. Everybody keeps talking about how that's such a good coding platform, but man, a GPT 4.0 so much better for this, for RhinoScript for some reason. It was like instantly got the problems that Claude was having. And the best part about Sim Theory is I just flipped over, didn't have to do anything. I was just like, can you fix this? Sure.
Cool. So you're still using Sim Theory? I thought you dumped it.
Well, I'm not paying for GPT Plus. I'm trying to see how it goes.
Okay.
No, I paid for the year like my influencer did. And
I feel guilty about this almost every day.
So
when I think about it,
no.
like
I'm just giving you crap. I was responsible for my own decision making. It was only like $100, so I'm not too worried about it. But we keep chatting about how we're both. I apparently just use GPT. Like, I'll run out of my quota in like an hour of use, like the free use,
the free account.
And then I'm like, all right, well, back to Sim Theory now, I guess.
And are you still on the cheapest plan of Sim Theory?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I'm surviving.
Gosh. Okay. Well done.
There's people who don't pay for any of these things. Isn't that crazy?
I went crawling back to GPT Plus in less than 24 hours. Like, I was like, give me the juice. I need it back.
I need it. I ended up paying for Adobe again for the $9 a month or $10 a month because I needed to take some product photos. So Lightroom, I knew that was going to happen to get back to Lightroom. And honestly, I also knew that when I needed to do some decent photo editing, that selection and content aware stuff, even the old school content aware like brush and Photoshop is just like light years ahead of anything in Affinity Photo. Like they're just nothing. So I mean, they have a content fill thing, but it's kind of just trash. It's like what Photoshop used to be before they got the real one.
Yes. Yesterday morning, I had a strangely productive day yesterday. Like, I managed to stay focused more than usual. And I was just like smashing through my to-do list. And
I've had that.
Which is currently in Slack. You know, those who are playing along on Jam and Justin's random to-do list systems.
Jam and Justin switching lanes over from mock. Task to task, app to app in a dizzying flux. Laughing at the silly chaos they concoct. A joyful mess that they can never stop. Oh, the list is long, it never ends. But it's all good with lapses, friends. Bouncing round with ease and glee. Silly dreams, hair running free.
Mine's currently
You're using
in a canvas in Slack.
Oh my God. Oh,
I was just
that
smashing
one
through
hurts
it,
a little bit.
in the morning, I had ChatGPT coding the desktop app, working on the RhinoScript on one screen. I had Sim Theory screen sharing, answering emails in the top screen. And then I was like, I need a third service. I've got other jobs to do here. I can't sit around waiting for two things to autocomplete.
Slow. It's too slow.
So crazy.
Right. It's like when you're used to running multiple like CNC machines throughout a day, and then you're just doing one, and you're like,
what's this?
all right, get done.
I miss that feeling. I miss that.
The best days. I don't usually get everything whacking at once, but I usually be like running the mill and all the printers and running back and forth to my office, which that's so nice.
Yeah, you got how many printers? 3 printers.
3. Not that many, but
two routers, 1 mill.
One router.
Don't you still have that Shipoko thing?
We got rid of it.
Did you get rid of that?
When we got the laser cutter, that's where it went.
You got laser? Okay.
We just weren't using the Shipoko, especially considering it was the space we needed for where the laser cutter could go, which probably gets used now that it works. All right. Like 3 times a week, at least.
Cool.
Kind of an on-demand packaging solution.
Yes. Yeah. How good is on-demand packaging?
I definitely have more desires for it, like long-term, but I think we've done really good at like making it a good experience and also like something that works well to kind of store the product and get it to the customer. I mean, not everything has it, but like it's just one of those things. The label maker and the laser cutter has really enabled Ricky to like organize and constantly improve everything. Like those 2 tools, it sounds silly, but like, you know, I come outside into the shop and it's like he's put dividers between all of our like tool tag towers, so that now instead of having to look at them, we have labeled laser cut dividers that tell you what each thing is. And it's just like, yeah, mostly used for packaging, but it's such a great simple tool that I don't know that I feel like it's gotten its use of whatever $5,000 it cost, but I think it will, assuming it doesn't need some crazy maintenance, which I see is on your list.
What stock are you putting in that laser cutter? Are you getting card sheets the right size for it, or are you hacking bigger stuff down?
No, yeah, it took us a bit to find it, and I can't even find it locally, but we ordered from like Georgia. Like Ricky knew from past work this stuff called E-flute that's just finer, tighter internal cardboard waffling or whatever that stuff's called.
Yeah,
and then it's only about
E-flute.
Yeah, that'd be 4 mil thick, I guess.
Yep,
roughly. That sounds too thick, but so that stuff's really great. The other weird little trick, maybe I should make a video of this sometime. I found a really cheap Vevor paper creaser. Some kind of, it's called a creaser, I think. And basically you have stops, and then you just pull this lever, and it brings this like either steel, I think it's steel, like press brake little pincher thing down in the center. And so then that's how we make like a lot of our, instead of laser cutting creases, we basically just make little marks where we need to crease it, and
cute.
And it creases it and makes it look like a professional big job of production.
Send me a link
packaging.
to that. I want to see that.
Yeah. Because $70.
Score. I mean, yeah, well, like we make all our own cartons, and we just run the tangential knife half depth through the card, which obviously, that's our score line, which works really nicely across the grain of the card, but with the grain, not amazing. And I guess it's cutting halfway through it, so it's effectively weakening it as well.
Yeah,
which is not non-ideal, but can Multicam sell a creasing tool that'll fit that tiny little, don't know what it is. It's like miniature tooling that goes in the tangential knife. And
ER
like
0.1.
Yeah, it's like cute little spindle taper, tiny little thing. Yeah, it's like $1,500 for a creasing tool or something, which just looks like something you could make, which we've never done. But
I'm pretty happy with it.
Cool.
For what it ends up being. Like, I mean, so the problem here is it's only, you can get it up to 21 inches wide. But I think we have the 18-inch version. So you're not getting a lot of width, for like your packaging. won't probably work. But they probably there's probably
No.
other machines, but it's just it'd be a big floor area probably though for you to
Yeah.
do something like that.
We just need
Like
a
an
tracing
electric
tool
version?
on the machine, given that we're running
Mm-hmm.
full-size CNC for packaging. Just need to
You
get
just
around
need
to
a
that
whole
creasing
CNC
tool.
only for packaging.
Well, Trinity spends a fair bit of time doing it, and sometimes I'm torn as to whether that's a waste of machine time,
Yeah.
you know, for effectively
Right.
something we're not charging for, but where our machines aren't maxed out either.
I stopped attempting drag knifing. It just never worked. It was always really messy and like I could never get it dialed right. And the cam for it is a nightmare in like, it's just weird little add-on widgets for Fusion or VCarve. And
Yeah.
that was kind of my breaking point of like, I want to make packaging, but basically turned it into a laser cutter situation. And that wasn't simple. I think mostly because we bought a Chinese machine that had quality issues right out the gate, but then once it's been dialed in and we kind of understood a little more, it's really reliable now.
Sweet. Blip, 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 blip. I wanted to, the multicam thing reminded me. I've been chatting to a few multicam, so Australian multicam CNC to be clear
Mhm.
here. I think there's a different American multicam by the same name, unrelated.
Mhm.
But I've been chatting to
wow.
a few Australian multicam owners lately who have been expressing their frustrations with the parent company when it comes to servicing and repairs and spare parts and just how expensive certain things are to get replaced, or just sort of how sometimes resistant they are to sort of solving problems. And I had someone reach out recently, Australian company, cabinet maker, reach out to me and was like, hey, have you ever thought about doing a Masso CNC conversion to your multicam? And I was like, yes, sure have. Ever since I ran a Masso control, I've dreamt of having this running the multicam as well, because it's so much nicer than like the Nintendo.
Yeah,
It's not even a 64. It's like a little Game Boy control.
I can't believe that's
that
a
runs
thing.
multicam.
Yeah.
And so we were chatting about that recently, and I was like, oh, look, I'd love to do it, but I can't afford the machine downtime, and it's a bit of an unknown. Like the machine might be down for a week or 2 weeks.
Right.
I don't know how much rewiring you'd have to do. And he was like, oh, yeah, it's probably too hard. And then the infamous Richard Blackwell, hello, Richard, who's super talented machine artist, G-code, matrix wrangler, sent me a message the other day, and he works at the University of New South Wales, and he was like, look what I did. And it was like my multicam, same model, converted to Masso control with the touchscreen hanging off the side of the gantry. Like, damn it, you've done it. And we were chatting about that. I was like, I'm not ready to do that in 2 hours yet. When something really goes wrong with it and multicam want to charge me $5,000 for some small part, then yes, let's do it. Funnily enough, the poor old Cameron must have heard us talking about it, because like a few hours later, we had a random power failure and the machine went down during the most complex 3D surfacing job we ever do. We do it about once a year for this one client, and the power went down mid surfacing cycle. The tool plunged into this stock that this client supplied and we don't have any spare of, and put a divot into the surface. And then Johnny and I were like trying to problem solve why the power had even gone out and cycling it, and we were getting power to the main box, but the control wouldn't turn on. Anyway, it turns out Johnny just found a loose wire behind one of the E-stops and just fallen out of the E-stop switch completely. So it had effectively E-stopped itself, patched that back in, and we're off running again. But,
oh, God.
It kind of, it led me down the thought of like, should we be popping all the cover plates off every 6 months and checking stuff like this? I don't know. Should this be the kind of thing that multicam are checking when they're servicing the machine? I don't know. It's pretty random.
Why would the E-stop wire come out?
I know.
That's crazy.
Jiggled its way out. But yeah, it's. I think I've asked you this before, but you service your own shop saver, don't you?
We've never had anybody do any maintenance for us on anything, really. Someday soon, we're going to have to maintenance the Kaiser compressor. But apparently we don't use it enough that it gets to a maintenance period, which is crazy to me. But they're apparently just made to run like endlessly. No, I probably said this before, but it is one of the nice perks about Shop Saver is they're really anti coming to do stuff for you like that, which means there's no cost really. And like, I think the thing that I remember we had to do last was it felt a little sloppy in the X, and a past employee talked to customer support, and I think we spent $70 on McMaster shims and bushings, and in less than an hour it was cleaned up. I think we need belts probably soon, which we've never touched the belts, and I feel like those probably are getting close to needing it. But we grease the rails and clean up the ball screws, which the seals are shot on those, but they don't seem to have any negative effects other than it just leaves kind of a mess of dirty grease once it gets dirty. But yeah, it's just the spindle's on its way. I have this feeling. I've been trying to save for it, but I mean, it's been 7 years, so I don't know. Hopefully, maybe not.
Well, yeah, I suppose our HSD on Cameron is 9 years old, and I crashed it super hard 3 years ago and damaged the bearings, and it's still clocking along. So there's hope.
Maybe I'm fine.
So many questions. So the ball screws, are they exposed to dust?
Yes. However, I think this is one of their better machine designs. They put them underneath the table. The newer ones are kind of like out adjacent to the table, which blows my mind. That freaks me out that they're just like constantly getting covered and stuff. But ours are like they get like ambient air dust. They're never going to get dropped on. And the rails for those are also underneath the tabletop, and they kind of come up and underneath and attach. So they stay pretty clean. Eventually they get dirty and we kind of like clean them off, and it's supposed to be every 50 to 60 runtime hours. And I think we've gotten lax on keeping track of that lately, but it's kind of a tank.
So you do kind of track it internally and think about when you've done it.
It kind of stopped sometime this year, and I probably need to check in on why. I think just a lot of stuff going on, but we used to basically at the end of every day just put it in a Google sheet. Yeah. Ran for 4 hours. And once we'd hit a certain time, we'd much more in the days of like, constant job shop running. And now there are a couple days in a row where it doesn't run for we're doing design work or we're packing products and stuff like that. So it's just not as critical. But
does the machine not have a built-in odometer telling you how many hours it's done?
It does. And I don't know why I didn't catch that originally. It didn't feel accurate or something. Okay. It does. It's not very, it's kind of hidden, and I don't know how accurate it is. Maybe it is accurate.
Yeah.
It seems you have the opposite of these things, right? Where you have to pay for maintenance and.
Well, we don't have to. That's the thing. Like, this is why I'm curious about it, because, I just paid a bill for $1,500 for our recent 2-machine service, tech coming from Melbourne for half a day. They do both machines at once, and they do that every six months. Well, pretty much just clean it and grease it, as far as I can tell.
Oh, yeah, you should do that.
Yeah, which I think we should do.
I think it also helps you to understand, I was kind of always on employees to be watching the rails for build up and things that shouldn't be there, and whether it needs it or not, I feel like it just helps. It helps it stay cleaner and more maintained when you're kind of on the daily, looking over, whoa, what's going on with the grease buildup in this area, and So it's just something that from the beginning, we were always having to do our own greasing, basically, is all it ever needs. Cleaning, very light cleaning.
Yeah, I think we should learn to do it.
Right. And then make a video and become the guy that breaks their service business. I hear that a lot from Laguna owners, especially, I think I've said this here, but I had this person message locally and said, how much are you paying for your maintenance for ShopSaber to maintenance your machine? And I was like,
what?
never. It's never happened. I don't understand. They don't really do that. And he's like, oh my God, every time we need to do basically what you're saying, like that kind of greasing maintenance in my mind, it's probably at least once a month. If not, like when you're running every day, it should be like a couple times a week potentially to clean and keep it greased up. So I don't like they would have to wait, and then I guess they weren't coming and it was expensive, and like they realized, oh, we don't need to be doing this anymore. So seems like it's not uncommon.
Cool.
I can give you some greasing accessory things we have that there's like little, I actually saw Dylan post about this recently on Instagram, but like there's this little lock-on clampy thing that you can use for the end of your grease gun so that it kind of clamps onto the grease zerks if you have those. You might have to kind of look through it and see what's going on. We can do a FaceTime, maybe.
Sweet. Cool. Yeah, thanks. I will learn the ways.
Just use the right grease, I think, is maybe the biggest.
Yeah, exactly.
For your machine. I don't know what that is, but that's the biggest problem is when you start mixing greases, I think it gets messy.
Yeah.
Like fails and
people.
We're going to keep talking about more GPTs and series.
I was going to complete
How tired of people of this.
the problem solving. I had this real sense this week of like, wow, so much of this job just entails fixing things that are going wrong. I was like, I just had a week where I was like, our password manager was down for Ben and he couldn't get back into it. And so he was locked out of everything, trying to get him back into LastPass. And then it's one of my pet hates, actually. Laura asked me for a password the other day and like, my brain just kind of went, it's just like, you've got a password manager. And like, I think it's from years of like having staff and trying to manage passwords. I've got this now, like this little tick where like, if anyone asks me for a password, I'm just a little bit like, no. Anyway.
Or
so
it's not being used properly.
And then Johnny's laptop that does all the CNC programming went down again with power supply issues, despite having been at the repair shop last week. And so he was trying to run everything on a backup MacBook, which doesn't have any of like the code posting programs on it, and taking that into the computer shop. And it was one of those weeks where it's like, oh, it's just one little problem after another. And then finding a keyboard and trying to find that monitor cable. It's like, I felt like an IT manager at one point, just like, I need to fix all the things. And that's okay. But
right,
there's a lot of this job.
Yeah, that does happen a lot.
IT time.
Ricky got locked out of Shopify recently.
Yeah.
I don't know. 2-factor authentication, while great, poses problems.
It's a pain in the with stuff.
Yeah. Interestingly, in that case, there's nothing that I can do as the administrator of our Shopify store to get him back in. He had to talk to Shopify directly, which kind of feels almost like less secure to me, but I don't know. So I don't know him as well as I know who's trying to get in realistically right now. So that hydraulic holder that I was talking about last week, I made a little post about it on Instagram right after we had talked, and I should have taken a before and after video, but I didn't think about it. I was just trying to get that job done, but it was significantly quieter, like less chattery, or whatever happens inside of it that it absorbs vibration. It seemed to be a lot more good.
Great. In terms of
Yay.
sound and surface finish?
It's not a finishing tool in that
Okay.
case. Maybe I should be. It's largely a test at this point of like, I knew that tool was a mess. And so, I mean, I don't know that I'm going to like get into like, it was on sale for $160 what I call it. So I don't know. Normally they're like $200 plus for a hydraulic holder, and I'm just not, I guess, needing that many. So I'm probably going to hop it around to like what my needs are for it. And I broke down the old one, which has a different call it system, which is nice, of course. And the one that came with the mill, and I'm going to try to get that being used again as well. I think that'll be nice to have a couple.
Yeah, cool. Good. Success. I'm completely out of the tooling loop these days. Johnny orders, he's got the credit card and he just orders what he needs when he needs it. That's been kind of nice because generally speaking, I do all the ordering. People put what they need in the Kanban channel, and once a week-ish, unless it's more urgent, I get in there and order all the things. And, you know, given that I'm running my to-do list out of Slack these days, that doesn't always happen every week. And sometimes I miss things. Or sometimes I get distracted and jump in there and order it immediately because it's exciting. But it's nice having Johnny, our machinist, just be fairly autonomous with that stuff and just know what he needs or orders it, pays for it.
Nice.
He's about to go away for all of October, so we're going to be without the lead machinist for a month, which will be interesting. I'm going to try and not be the guy that defaults to. We have actively been training Ben and Rowan up in basic operation, so they'll be able to run product when Johnny's away. But basically any programming that needs to be done will come to me. And then we'll try where I program and post, and then those guys can run it. We'll see how that goes. But
nice.
Just going to try and minimize the amount of custom work we're doing on October and do a real sort of product push. Like treat it as an opportunity to go, cool, how much can we push through the website this month?
Definitely. I've done the exact opposite lately where we were having slow product sales for about a month and a half in a row. And I was like, all right, well, we're getting inquiries for job shop work. So guess I'm going to hit these. And so I hustled a little bit and we won 4 or 5 of them in a row. And so we've been doing that. And then at the end of the month, our product sales have started to pick up a little bit. So kind of a nice back and forth. It doesn't mean that we are sitting fantastically cash flow wise, but I'm glad to see they're both still working and what we'd like. So it's weird to like get into, like, I've been so out of the mood and mode of being the job shop salesperson for quite a while now. And so getting back into it of like making sure I follow up and like getting the deposits and ordering the material and the tools and it's a hustle for sure.
It's a hustle, and there's this weird sense I've had the last week because we've been having a good run where you just hit the end of the 7th week consecutively where we've made target, like cash in, profit first, target. 7 weeks in a row, we've gone, over target if you average it all out. 7 weeks in, and that sort of run is so rare. And I have this weird like unease of like when things are going well, almost this sort of guilty feeling of like, it's going well, I'm not stressed. What am I doing? Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I mustn't be servicing our customers well enough because this is what's but and it's just like, it's weird. Like I don't like, it feels uncomfortable even bringing it up, like with you, who I chat to every week, of just like that. Yeah, we're having a good run. Like there's this weird sense of guilt, which is fucked.
I don't know if I have the guilt. I am way less stressed, and I relax, which I think is good, but that means like I am not hustling to get more jobs. Maybe I think I've always done better doing design work when I'm less stressed, but it just doesn't happen as much. I'm always trying to get to that place of like, all right, everything's either on a list or I have like this morning, last 2 mornings I've come in and we don't really have job shop work, which is like the best mental space for me. I'd be like, nobody's here for an hour. Daddy gets to play Infusion, like I just get to do what I guess I don't know how else to say it, but what I want, which is absurd.
Great.
And in that sense, I've had this kind of overwhelming sensation of, I think because I've been, let's say, away from product design as a whole, like I'm always kind of iterating on things, but like not like what's the new product that we're going to work on, which is a much bigger consideration, I think, than just like iterating dust boots or tool tags into a slightly different version. Like that doesn't take a lot of thought. It's just doing. And I've had this trouble of trying to decide what is the smart thing next. Like what should I be working on instead of just kind of falling into it like I happen to a lot of the time. And so Aaron and I are rewatching Silicon Valley for the 4th time. And recently they just did that SWOT analysis. Have you ever seen the show?
I've never seen the show, but I know what a SWOT analysis is. Yeah.
SWOT. I can't make myself do an actual SWOT analysis. I cannot sense threats in a business sense of new products, but I had GPT kind of make my own version of that. Just gave me kind of like a framework, and it came up. I sent you I think I sent Slack this little like
is that what that
made
was?
a new Airtable.
Okay.
Basically ranked all of my product and business thoughts I had recently by their revenue potential, the pain of the customer, the resource fit, the strategic fit, the speed to market, and then basically just summed those rankings 1 through 5. And I think it was pretty helpful to like give me both the idea of what I should work on, and then I kind of added on next to that what I thought like the margins for each of those things could be and how many I thought we could make per month. And that's even more eye-opening, is that it doesn't even necessarily line up with the score being high, because some of those products that were ranked high don't make very much per month. All of this is like a subjective guess, but it was really helpful. And then I added one more field where I said, what are my holdups to each of these products? I haven't fully fleshed that out, but that always kind of helps me too, of like, all right, well, what are the concerns about making this product? And then you can start to actually be actionable about it, rather than just like I get in my head and like trying to solve it in my head and it doesn't get anywhere. So I don't know, it was a nice little exercise for about an hour this morning.
That's cool. What does it like? It's cool. I can see how that feels good. What does it?
What's it do?
What's it going to do for you in terms of like, we get off this recording now, you've got a little bit of that, like, daddy gets to play time, as you call it. How's that going to change what you actually do next? Or will it?
Oh, well, for me, it's when I have free time, I didn't have a list that was very ordered. I have a lot of lists all over the place of product ideas, but they were like all like, most of the time it ends up being like, what am I most interested in? Or like, what sounds like fun to work on? And when I get there in the morning, and for me now, I genuinely feel like this is a good list of what I should work on. Like in a more, not by the book, but like in an analytical way that's best for the business and for, like in the sense of like how fast we can get it to market and like how big of a, all these things, if they all rank high, then that should be the next thing we put out, hopefully. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, cool.
I hope. I don't know. Trying to give myself some reason for an order of things rather than Justin's interested in this, because that doesn't.
Yeah.
Well,
totally.
It turns out sometimes it's like I could spend 2 weeks on a product idea and get it selling, and then, oh, that doesn't really make much money,
Yeah.
and maybe in some cases, like the product never gets made because all of the, when you really look at it this way, more analytically, it's not valuable. It's too much work for producing it, or the customer doesn't see value in it, or.
Yeah, it's cool. I remember doing SWOT analysis. This is at uni in like our one subject of like business professional development, which at the time, second year industrial design or whenever it was, I was very dismissive of that subject.
Yeah.
And I regret that, not having, more time in that sort of area and at uni, or having a teacher who could really sort of cut through and make us understand why that was important.
Make it seem valuable, right?
Yeah, which, is obviously very challenging with, 21-year-olds or whatever we were. But as you were speaking, I just put in a single line prompt to ChatGPT, like, do a SWOT analysis of like butter, put in the domain and what you know about my business. And here's where the memory functionality comes in, because it's like, I just quickly skimmed what it output. It's like, this is actually really good. And like, there's some excellent points in here about threats and opportunities. It's that next step. It's like, cool. This is incredibly powerful tool that just gave me this great, like, concise list of everything that I've talked to it about in the last few months and what it can see online.
Interesting.
But what do I do with that? Like, when I get off this recording,
right.
I'm going to go home and forget about it because it's Friday. It's my day off. And by Monday, it'll be a distant memory. And even if I print it out and put it on the wall, I've got all these bits of paper that just blend into the environment. I never see them. It's like, it's the next step that I struggle with.
I feel like people that aren't us, that follow through with things maybe better like this, it's like, having done this, they'll keep coming back to it and like literally check off the list and keep going down it. And I just end up making a new list because I can't remember where I made the list last time, or it's not helping me enough or something like that, It's like, oh, where'd the list go? I don't know. I'll make a new one. Maybe I can make a list faster now because of AI, I guess. But
you can make lists very quickly, yes. And very long.
And I can SWOT them as well. I don't know. I get the vibe of a SWOT. It doesn't vibe with me. Like, I don't, it's almost like which just is going to sound silly, but it's like, it doesn't seem useful, or like it seems a little too like, which is weird because in a business analysis sense, you would think it would be more analytical, and it feels more like emotional to me almost, which I don't. That wasn't helpful as a thought to me. So I was like, let's just come up with our own version of this.
Yeah.
I think maybe if I had to guess, having not gone to any business classes and not really knowing what the hell it is, I would say it's like trying to remind you as the decision maker about what you should be guiding towards or away from or being prepared for in terms of like threats. Jim's got an EMF wave that just rolled through.
No, there's just strange sounds in my wall.
It's a squirrel.
It's probably the bikie gang outside.
I don't know what that is. Biking? Bikes?
Bikie. Do you know what bikies are? Bikie. Yeah, like...
I just get bicycles. I don't know how to spell it. It looks like Bicky.
Bikie. I don't know how to spell it either. Like Harley Davidson's, leather jackets, gangs.
Yes. We would not call it a bikie gang. We would call it motorcycle club. Motorcycle gang, probably more like.
Okay.
Yeah. That's good. That's another one of those deep things we didn't know about each other.
No, one of our neighbours has the private collection of the largest private collection of Harley Davidsons in the Southern Hemisphere. In this crazy personal museum. It sounds very expensive. It looks very expensive. It's very shiny.
And that's what they're going for, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's not, it looks expensive.
Beep-bop. I had this funny sense this week listening to Dylan's With Intolerance IMTS wrap-up podcast. I was like, damn it. And watching your video. Watching your recap video. Thank you for publishing that. I was like, damn it. I wish I was there wandering around with Justin, seeing all the things, making jokes about cookie mixtures. And
cookie mixtures. Well, instead I just mumbled to myself while people probably stared at me while I'm holding my phone up looking at stuff. I'm used to that now, though.
It looked fun.
Yeah, it was nice to, I guess, rethink about some of those things, and even though it was just shortly ago. And it made me realize like how much of it I missed and didn't even get to from hearing like the Dylan's wrap up with all those people and not having seen or had enough time in some sections. I know more about what to expect and how to deal with it better, and like maybe wear a disguise if I really want to like really look through the whole place, because it's just so easy to get talking with somebody you've met on the internet. And then now it's like an hour later and you're like, oh, I didn't see anything in that time. Well, it was still fun.
No.
Uh-oh, gonna get some barking.
Hunter. Woof.
It's the UPS pickup. My 12-year-old dog cannot resist endlessly barking at things that she hears outside. That's why she's with me at work, is the baby never would sleep if that was the case.
Oh, right.
Let's see. We got in some long-awaited new end mills. I do not have them up yet. Part of what I need to take some photos and make a video, likely. Eventually, I'll make a video. I'm going to get them up before, but they're O-flute aluminum plastic end mills in 1/4 and 3/8 diameters. So it should allow you to do like, oh man, I think the 1/4 can go up to an inch deep, which would be an interesting cut. But the 3/8 is a little over a half. I think it's 5/8 or 6/25. See if one of my most popular videos has been this aluminum cutting video, and so I'm gonna probably make some more videos around that, because there's just not a lot of aluminum. Well, there's more, but there still isn't like a wealth of CNC routing aluminum videos. I should also try them in the mill. It's an interesting thought. I hadn't kind of have a wealth of tools that work in the mill already, but they should be pretty good for plastics and aluminums.
Sweet. I do like a good O-flute. The best ones I've ever used are the Onsrud O-flutes for aluminium and plastic. And I've tried alternative suppliers here, and I always just go back to the Onsrud stuff. It's just something about it. Just like,
for like fit surface finish?
Because we only ever machine alley in like plate sheet form, like 3mm, 5mm.
Right.
8mm sometimes. And this 1/4 inch tool just outperforms everything else I've ever tried. It's just like no burr, beautiful clean edge, can push it pretty hard with a high chip load, and just, does an awesome job.
Do you do any misting or lubrication at all?
With a mist, oil mist. Yeah.
Interesting. Is that like built into your machine, or did you put it on?
We had it added to Cameron, by Multicam for many thousands of dollars. Yeah.
Is it like automated?
Yes.
Or do you still have? Oh, okay.
Switches
all right.
on.
Well, that makes a little more sense for the cost, but it's about $40 to do yourself, but then it's not automated. So if it's automated, that's a little different.
Yeah, this is the thing that Multicam owners here are frustrated with, is that there's this running joke with Multicam owners of like minimum the minimum charge is like $5,000. It's like, if you want them to do anything
Jesus.
of significance, it's like, oh, it's $5,000. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah.
What was I? So like, since going to IMTS, I have shopped for a few types of machines. Like I mentioned, I was looking at lathes. This is more like very preparatory of like, if some of these products go well. Hunter's getting a drink behind me. Can you hear that?
No.
No. Okay. So just kind of shopping, and I stumbled onto some kind of like forum posts of old machine costs, especially like Haas's, as well as like I've been going through some of my books for the business, and like just the prices of machines, especially routers versus like even just like basic mills today. It's like we paid $40,000 for that Shop Saber in 2017. I think it's maybe in the 50s now, close, but like that versus like any other machine you can buy is like you basically get to 100 just instantly with any options. And it's just wild to think about like how much difference that is in terms of cost and interest, and viability is like an easy startup option, or like, I guess when you have the business, it's not such a big concern, but I don't know. Interesting to think about how different it is now.
Yeah. Yeah, I find I don't know, I guess I'm in such a different space now to when we were, investing in our bigger pieces of equipment. I guess we've got it now. I feel so undriven to invest at the moment. I guess because we're kind of climbing out of a serious cash flow deficit that built up over years. That's probably a big part of it, but
it's probably like a very healthy way to think, though.
Like even
that you're not like looking for the next thing to solve it with buying something,
Even projecting forward, like imagining, into early next year when we've paid down one of our debts, and it's like, what will I do with that extra cash that was going towards that? It's like, I'll keep paying down other debts, but I have no impulse at the moment to sort of be thinking about the next machine or the next tool or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's partly because I'm not in it. I'm not running them every day. Like that's, yeah, I think that's part of the drive for me, because I love running them. I think if I'm in there every day doing that stuff, then I'm in that space, and I think I probably would be more actively thinking about that that world. But,
interesting.
Yeah,
that's probably true. When I start running the mill, I almost never use the router. That's like Ricky alone.
Yeah, but
the mill, I do most of it, and I think its many desire points for me definitely push me towards like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we had a chip conveyor? Like, there's all these like fancy things, and I at this point, like until we really have a need, it's just not going to happen. But I have always been one to just kind of like, I like to research and find new opportunities. Oh, we have 1 minute left. Shit.
Oh, no.
Not a good long story time. Yeah, so I don't know. Just always looking and thinking about if things. I think I'm always thinking about if things go really well with this idea, then this new thing makes sense. And wanting to be, I guess, prepared or not taken off guard for that. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yep.
We should end. 20 seconds.
I should.
Beep.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
See you. You too. Bye-bye.
Ciao. Bye.